Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ghazal Ahmed and you're watching SAMAA podcast. Following India's attack on the civilians of Pakistan, a befitting response was given back to them by the armed forces and they were left absolutely shattered. They went into a state of despair and they had no option left but to run to Trump, knock on his door and beg for mercy, beg for a ceasefire. Now that has left India and especially Narendra Modi absolutely shattered. His whole image has been damaged and now he's panicking and he can be expected to do anything. Can he be expected to do such foolishness again and attack Pakistan? Can he do another false flag and find maybe an excuse to do something similar? Today we're gonna discuss all of this with Dr. Maria, who is a renowned defense analyst. Good afternoon, Maria.
Good afternoon.
Maria, we have witnessed in the last few days that Modi and his whole foolish move has rather costed him and he has been defeated on both military and diplomatic fronts. Now, we know that his whole campaign stands on nationalism and fascist rhetoric. So can we expect him to do something as foolish again?
Well, first of all, I think you're very spot on in terms of asking this question because as we understand, complete victory brings complete success, but with complete success also a lot of retribution. Retribution not in terms of how you expect the others to understand it, but also in terms of how the notion of victory or the notion of loss is understood by the adversary. And in this case, this Pakistan's, I would say, unprecedented victory against India and Indian military adventurism has left it with no place to hide, with almost 6 jets down, plus one S-400 system destroyed, 84 drones, Arab drones just destroyed out of
Maria, I'm so sorry to cut you off, but I have to mention it here that the only thing going down faster than my hair is their Rafale jets and their defense capabilities.
Well, I hope not as well, because I am sure your hair can always come back because, there is lots of technologies which can help you with that. But I doubt that the way Rafale has gone down, it can be resurrected.
Absolutely.
Because, what we're looking at is a resurrection only, the dead can come back. That's the only way Rafale can come back and actually save the grace for New Delhi. And that's the unfortunate reality of it. Now, given this, I think the biggest defeat for India has not just been on the military front. It has also been in terms of the international political front, in terms of how they had been casting their position as, a regional hegemon, a regional game changer, in terms of being, the ace player. They fell flat. They couldn't sustain in the war front. 1, they couldn't sustain on the narrative. 2, number 3, they couldn't protect their investors. So it basically meant that the trash of almost $89 billion in the Indian market, along with almost billions of losses, dollars of losses in their defense industry, in their defense equipment, has left India aghast with how do you deal with a situation where you cannot come up with anything which can justify the onslaught which he is facing inside India right now. That is from the opposition parties. And that's one of the reasons that you're seeing lots of ultranationalism coming out of New Delhi, along with a lot of unease from their old partners and their new partners, their defense alliance partners such as France, Israel, who invested in India as being the forerunner for their defense technologies and also their partner. So this is a very dangerous situation to be in. A fascist leader lost the battle. No, they lost the war.
So now can we expect him to do something similar again, like the Pahalgam attack? They can do another false flag operation and then blame it on Pakistan to have an excuse to attack us again?
Actually, unfortunately, the bet is almost 70-30. 70% yes, 30% no. And it's not just basically because, they're crazy. It's basically because the stakes are too high. 1, his entire domestic narrative is under severe threat. His concept of making a majority faces real challenge in India's, democratic polity. So people are asking whether or not this is the India they can live with. 1. Number 2, is this the India that's going to lead them to success and glory? No, it led them to war and it led them to disaster and it has led them to shame. 3, its defense partners such as Rafale and Israel and United States, but mostly the French partners and the European partners and the Russian partners have seen that, it's not just India, it's also the defense industry, which was competing with the Chinese industry. And in this case, it's not just about India, Pakistan, it's also about Europe. So it basically means that Europe is also looking after 9th of May, where Chinese technology now will interface with Russian technology, and Russian and Chinese forces will become interoperable. And whatever they've invested in, that billions of dollars, are those actually going to give them up, palatable defense? Rafael couldn't even stand in the war for 5 minutes. It couldn't even cross into Pakistani territory. So it just came down in India's territory, was hit because of a network-centric battlefield, and couldn't even manage to leave Indian airspace to forget about a defense, forget about an offense. It is a flying death machine, if it means that you can actually do this. So I think there is very big question mark, and it's about billions of dollars, which was invested in these defense equipment for offensive and defensive capability, who will be trying to see whether or not they can invest in another military adventure with India so that some of the reputation can be salvaged. Now, the question is, this is now the 100% question mark. The question mark is, will they be willing to give India this high-end defense technology after what Indian fighters have managed to do to that technology?
I don't think
we
they
heard
should.
about news where Rafael's management was saying that it's not about our technology, it's not about our fighters. And even our, Air Force spokesperson, Aurangzeb, said the same. He said, Rafael is a very good platform.
Very
It's just the fact that India couldn't integrate it. It couldn't employ it well. So,
Dr. Maria, it comes down to basically the fact that it's not about the ride, it's about the rider.
Well, it's also about the rider, but it's also about the fact that you can't be too smart all the time. You can't interface Israeli French technology with Russian technology and Indian pilots and assume that you're going to get the best out of them. You can't, it's not plug and play. You got to understand that these advanced systems with ACERs and with us, with the X-band radar systems, they need better integration. They need better training. They need better usage. So if you're trying on the one hand to become the U.S. defense partner, and you're buying around 60%, weaponry from U.S. and its allied partners, and on the other hand, your mainstay weaponry is coming from Russia, then what's actually happening? What is actually happening is what we saw in the battlefield. They used BrahMos as a weapon of choice, which they couldn't manage. They used S-400, the state-of-the-art defense system. It was shot down by Pakistan. The cost alone is $1.2 billion. So there comes the myth of impenetrable defense, which could not be affected and challenged.
But
so
Maria, they're still trying to deny all these allegations, as they claim that the S-400 has not been destroyed. Modi gave his speech yesterday at Adampur base, if I'm not mistaken, where he was standing in front of a component of the S-400 system and a MiG-29, and he was claiming that Pakistan did not destroy our air defense system. It still stands, and we're gonna do this and that.
Actually, I think these things don't really, they sell well in an uneducated, illiterate nation, where you can tell your voters that this is the truth. But when you're looking at people who understand technology, this is far from the truth, because you can actually go and purchase online images of Google Earth, or even for that matter, any satellite-based, platform which you would like to use, and images of Udhampura base being, brought to pieces, or for that matter, S-400 being destroyed, or BrahMos base being affected. It cannot be hidden. These are not things which you can disappear. It's not that the world had no eyes on the India-Pakistan war. The whole world was looking. And then in addition to this, like Rafael's, like S-400, all of them have a signal which goes back to the original manufacturers. The original manufacturers are saying that this is what happened. The ejector seats of Sukhois are telling where the Sukhoi was destroyed. Now you turn around and you say that it didn't happen. Well, okay, we understand that. But the world, which has got access to Google Earth, can tell that actually it did happen. It happened the way we said it did. And this is the reason that you ended up going to Trump. This is the reason that today Trump is saying that Pakistan has been United States' very strong, formidable partner in counterterrorism. He wants to trade with Pakistan. He wants to trade with India. He wants India to cough up on the trade deal. He wants India to cough up with the defense deals and actually own up their stuff. And at the same time, talk about Kashmir, something which India thought that it had in its pocket after 2019. So back to square one. And this is something which is perhaps quite difficult for New Delhi to understand and to absorb. So given these odds, the stakes are high. The margin is narrow, because if more time passes, it will be very difficult for him to have that strong majority within India, because as we understand, even his political majority at the moment is quite slim. So if it fails and the Hindu-Muslim riots or some other riots happen, I don't think the war will happen. But if it remains intact, he will definitely push for another victory. Now, in that victory, what could be the nature of the war? It could be electronic warfare. It could be an attack against our military and civilian leaderships. It could be a terrorist attack in Pakistan. It could be an attack against our military assets. Or even for that matter, it could be about the high-end defense technology. Now, in this case, what is going to be the litmus test? The litmus test is, of course, terrorism is something which we will have to remain vigilant, not as a country, but also as people, because we are now dealing with a very different front of terrorism. On the second military component, it will depend in terms of how quickly we interface with the Chinese, and the signals from China are quite good. They're talking about, Pakistan collaborating and getting our next batch of F-35s. We're talking about, PL-17s. We're talking about advanced weaponry. And also the PLA chief statement is quite interesting, where he said that if I was given an option to fight from the Chinese side or the Pakistani side with the Chinese weapons, I would opt for Pakistan.
Wow.
Meaning that the way Pakistan has used the weapons has actually done them justice. So it's going to be a defense industry battle. Now, the question is, will Rafael trust India with the next technology? Israel will. So Israel and France are joint partners in electronic warfare capability, which Rafael develops. So if that happens, we have some kind of a war on our fronts. But this will depend in terms of how square the cyber attack was and how square is going to be their electronic warfare capability and their ability to generate it in such a short time.
I think, Maria, France should give us some Rafale so we can show them what exactly are they capable of, because India can clearly not do so. Thank you very much, Maria, for your insights. And once again, Pakistan has proven the whole world that Pakistan and its armed forces are not just capable of defending the country, but giving quite a befitting response as well. If India dares to do something as foolish again, they will be done in the same manner. Thank you very much once again, Maria, and thank you to all of you watching. We'll be back with another episode. Allah Hafiz.